How's it going, man? How's it going? What's going on, fellas?
What's
What
going
it
on?
is? What's up? What's up? What's up?
What's up?
All right, so first, let me welcome everybody to secondary sessions. This is a little different than what we do or talk that talk. Um, we are a panel of secondary educators, and so this conversation is really going to be geared to what we deal with in our everyday, teaching situations, the pros and the cons, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But we're gonna have a great talk. As you come in, please make sure that you go ahead and click the like button. Somebody coming in my house right now. Y'all can hear that in the background. It's all good. Please make sure though that you come in. When you come in, go ahead and click that like button, and then you can also subscribe to the network. All right. Okay. So first, let me before we get started in the conversation and the topics, let me go ahead and say this: the views that are expressed are not views that are garnished in the districts in which these men or all of us work in. These are personal opinions and anecdotal experiences that we have had, and we're just sharing our thoughts. Just want to put that out there. All right. Cool. All right. Quan, Derek, Cofield, you ready to do this, bro?
Let's
Yeah,
go.
man. Let's jump
Let's
in.
get it. I'm gonna start right from the top, and we kind of gonna rock pretty basically like we do on a normal show. But we're gonna really try to go in. So here's the first topic: do you feel devalued?
Yeah.
Do you feel devalued? Kofi, I heard you go off first, so you got it.
I mean, I speak for just about every band director, and I do mean just about every band director across the United States of America when I say that music education is highly devalued. Even programs that are established, known some experiences where directors have, discussed and expressed their, I guess, outlook, on administrations on their campuses, and parents and other students' outlook. Man, it's just not just the school, man. It goes all throughout the community, the parents, the students, and it goes a whole lot of other places. That's just the surface response. While I'll let someone else respond, so I don't just take up the whole show.
All right, good.
I'll interject.
Go
Yeah,
ahead. You got it.
man. So I do agree. I, I don't think anybody understands what a band director goes through except for the band director. They don't understand all the inner works that go in. From an audience perspective, they see a show. If you're talking about marching band, or they'll see a concert, they don't understand the inner work. And students themselves don't understand that. After we leave y'all from a rehearsal, we going home and doing our own rehearsal with ourselves to prepare for the next day. Nobody really understands what you're going on. So I feel like it's just we're never gonna be valued for all the work that we do, man. It's just I think it just comes with the territory of teaching in general. So that's my intake on it.
All right, Quan.
I think both of you brothers kind of hit on it, but I'll be kind of different. I think it's yes and no, pending the region that you're in. I do agree if your program has been established, but it really boils down honestly to your administrator. Honestly, I think as the arts overall, we're always going to be fighting for our place in education. Period. In regards of fine arts overall. Period. That's not just band, but that's drama, theater, arts, so forth and so on. We're always going to be fighting for that uh, space in education, humanities overall. Um, what I realize is, excuse me, the devalue part is the only way you can show your value is how much money that you're bringing in, honestly, to the school. And then they start noticing, oh, y'all really doing that over there? Like I say, for those that don't know, I was blessed to have 9 seniors to receive $50,000 worth of scholarships. That's when like people started realizing, oh, like y'all really do that? Like that's what band do? I mean, and I'm pretty sure even with all of our programs, if we added up all of the scholarships that we've attained through our career, I guarantee it's going to be over $1 million. But because they look at it as, oh, it's quote unquote banned, it doesn't have or carries the same weight as your athletics or academics, when you could be stacking scholarships. So, like I said, it depends on what area, what region that you're in. But overall, we're fighting for our place in education. And that also deals with, the core content and those standardized tests as well. Because, high test scores bring in more money. So, that's something that we're dealing with and fighting against as well.
All right. So let me put this thought out here. And someone correct me if I'm wrong. And as it states in ESSA, the ESSA, music is considered a core curriculum, right? However, if we're considered a core curriculum, I feel like we still are fighting to be relevant. So how does that align? If we're a core curriculum, how are we fighting to be relevant and the in our space, I guess you want to say, in the space of education, as Kuan so eloquently put it.
Well,
Okay.
correct.
Now I was gonna say, I think that it's a stigma that people think there's no money in music. You think about you got kids that excel in math, they can go into an engineering path, and that they think of those subjects as money makers, as this is how you get successful. People don't really have that outlook on music. They think, oh, you're a musician. People don't think that there's musicians out here that's making $10,000 a gig. They don't they don't think about it like that. They think, oh, you're a musician. It's just creative stuff. It's not like an engineer who's going to have a salary of $400,000 or something like that. That's where I think education kind of gears towards those careers as opposed to us.
I also agree with what you said, and but you started off. Kuan said the main thing it's the admin, and at the end of the day, music, we are not the bottom line of the school. That's with any business. You have a bottom line. With football, you have a bottom line. That's wins. With school, you have a bottom line. That's test scores and behavior. And at the end of the day, that's going to cause, that's going to win the fight. And with band, we're not the bottom line until we're needed for a performance, needed to, write some music for somebody. Oh, hey, can you stop by? I need you to play this solo real quick. Do you have a student that can play this real quick? Then we're the bottom line. Then our value goes up. Because at the end of the day, an admin who has no experience in music can walk into your classroom and evaluate you and give you a developing or an approaching and have no real idea or knowledge on what it is they're grading. Differentiation is in our classroom every day. And if they came into our classroom every day, they would see it, just based off of, concert instruments, concert pictures or whatever. That's differentiation alone, but they wouldn't know that. So yeah, do I feel devalued? Absolutely. Just based off of, not even trying to learn, or know the craft or what it takes to teach a craft.
All right, bet. Kuan, any final thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, everything what y'all say is what we're endeavoring through as music educators. The bottom line is we don't, when you have a bad test score and they get that school gets that particular report card and saying that, hey, this test score, you failed, you didn't meet the standards, or approaching basic, whatever that like he said, bottom line is, they don't look to band and be like, well, how can band help? They're just focusing, you know what? These kids only have 90 minutes. So what we're gonna do is take them out of their elective and then double block their schedule to ensure that their math scores improve. But they don't appreciate that, because we're the ones that went to school for 4 years to study this craft. And they just look at us and, just excuse my language, they just piss on our degree to a degree. And they just devalue us as educators, when honestly it is our job to teach the child holistically, not just reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Kuan, you actually touched on something real quick and I didn't even think about. When you're talking about devaluing, I'm also thinking about scheduling. Right? How many of us have been in a situation where our classroom became what we have been affectionately called the dumping ground, right? Where we're not necessarily teaching band the whole day. We're we have our quote unquote music appreciation classes or our music theory classes, and that random kid who can't sit still or who has issues or been fighting all day, well, let's throw him in the music class, he'll be all right. Um,
Like
so
music.
yeah, he beats on the desk all day, so that'll be perfect for him. Let's throw him in there, right? But I mean, in that sense, I also believe that is a way that we are devalued as well, and that's just coming from my anecdotal experience. I mean, have you all experienced any of that? Any of you three?
Of course. Yeah, I would say, 'cause, I'm a relatively young teacher. Um, my first year, I had one class, I guess my dump class or whatever, and it honestly caused me anxiety every single day. I just really didn't look forward to that class. I loved everything else about it, man. But it's like you said, we're not teaching music in that class. If anything, it's classroom behavior management the whole day, just trying to keep kids from fighting each other, cussing all over the place, getting off their phones, stuff like that, man. And you try your best to form it into a band class, man. But some of these kids really have no interest in it whatsoever, and they're only in there because the guidance counselor put them in that class, and they won't let them out.
Well, let me speak up for if there are any administrators tuning in on this, or anybody getting a degree in whatever the degree is in for becoming an administrator. There are some fantastic administrators out there, like mine. The brother is sharp, and he asks me questions on, what's going on in my classroom. How are you teaching this? Why are you teaching this? Is this supposed to look like this? So there are the good ones out there that are not condoning the whole dumping ground thing. I am a victim of the dumping ground. I have them right now. I got 3 stacked music appreciation classes, all of them 30 students. And every day we got to find in there, we got to go in there, you got to juggle, and you got to ride the unicycle and try to figure out how to make music relevant to a group of students that care nothing about music or band. All they want to do is put that phone in their face. They don't want to write. They don't want to read. So you have to find a way to make music relevant. So pretty much we're magicians and not musicians. But I digress. I still think there are some great administrators out there, man.
Yeah, and most definitely. I mean, I'm definitely not going to take away from the administrators that are really trying to figure it out. I will definitely say that in my last position, um, my direct administrator, my supervisor, made it a mission to work hard to try to understand what was going on, not only specifically in my classroom, but band in general. He took it upon himself to actually read what we have here, UIL. He took it upon himself to read the UIL documentation and understand what needed to happen throughout the year, the different contests that we had to perform in, that were not district mandated but state mandated. So I definitely agree there are some out there, um, but I think I also believe that there are those who probably don't care, and I know that or I feel that many of us run into those as well. Quan, I think you about to say something.
Yeah, I do agree. That there are administrators that do support. Unfortunately, uh, not to generalize, but there are far few in between. And if you do have an administrator that is supportive, sometimes that's the diamond in the rough that we encounter. Um, and I saw this quote. I end with this. It says, educators, we don't leave bad students, we leave bad administrators. And so that's something that as an admin they have to consider too. Like we went into debt, going to attain these degrees, these advanced degrees, and we just want to teach. Honestly, I think that's what we're honestly, I hate to say, but begging for. We just merely want to teach. And just as important as math is, music is too, for those creative juices. So we just have to honestly begin, or if not more so, establishing that rapport with those administrators to show them, hey, this is what this is what band and music can do for this school holistically. But I also believe that honestly, we have to begin taking upon ourselves to honestly gain data and attain data as well, to show them like, hey, I had 9 seniors that attained this. okay, next year I have these amount of juniors. This is the projected amount. So over 4 years, this band program can have over $2 million worth of scholarships, but I need this, this, and this to be in order for it. And then maybe, you know, we'll see some definite change.
Absolutely. All right, cool. So let's get ready to move on to our next topic. If you're just coming in, go ahead and smash that like button. This is secondary sessions. So go ahead and smash the like button as soon as you come in. And then also make sure you subscribe to the Passion Is Network and turn on notifications. All right. On to the next topic. Is band going back to what it used to be? Is band going back to what it used to be? So I know, I'm the oldest person on here. So with that being said, though, I remember, I'm kind of gonna date myself here, but I remember what it felt like in '99, in high school, to be able to walk into a band program.
99. Jesus.
Shut up, man. But I remember what it felt like to be in high school during that time. And, you know, I just feel like there was a different energy within the room. And from my perception, um, I feel like my band director didn't have to work that hard. I visually never really saw my band director like doing some of the stuff that my students have seen me do. So that's the question on the floor. Is band going back to what it used to be? Kuan, you got it.
All right, so I was born 87. So when I was in school, when I was in middle school, and like I say, being from Louisiana, I'm 30 to 15 minutes outside of New Orleans, I guess it was different for me. And I'll speak about two different worlds. So when I was coming up, man, band was and still is in that area the creme de la creme, in my opinion, in regards to marching band specifically, right? Like we was talking about on yesterday's show, Mardi Gras. You know, that's some of the hypest season, of the year. Middle schools have band programs. Like you couldn't go to any middle school and not have a program. You couldn't go to a middle school and not have a drumline program. Teaching was focused around music for that specific area. Now that I've gotten older and I operate in this field, being and residing in Texas, in urban areas specifically, I don't think is going back because I still see what's the word I'm trying to find? Like the uneven playing field from affluent to urban schools, from elementary music all the way to high school. So I can't say that it's going back when we're not going back and depositing and investing into the younger generation so that these high schools can thrive. So you said you graduated 99. Well, I have friends, brothers, fraternities, family members who marched for Jack Yates when it was like 93, 92, when they were a powerhouse. Family and friends, relative that marched for Willow Ridge Band. Say it again?
No, I was just saying I remember those years.
Like, think about Rose Bowl for Willow Ridge. Think about Orange Bowl. All of those. I mean, not being ugly, I was a hater when I heard Willow Ridge had 500 people. And I was like, y'all lying. And then I pull up the video and they had 500 people on the field.
I mean,
like,
let me clarify. Willow Ridge 500 people was not 500 horns and winds. It was like we had the wings and we had the majors and everybody. So it was all of that embodied into that. But we did have like 300 winds of percussion though. But go ahead.
I'm just saying, but think about that. As a black school, that's amazing. You know what I'm saying? Think about back in the day, the Southwest DeKalb's, the Monroe High Schools from Mississippi, the St. Augustine's in New Orleans, the list goes on. And that was because why? Because they had a feeder program, they had a structure. But now what we're striving off of is hit or miss for particular schools, particular regions, particular areas. So I can't say that it's going back to the heyday of it when I'm looking at these middle school programs still suffering. Why, like you said, why do we still have beginning band in high school? Well, we have to. Why? Because some of these programs are incapable of establishing and developing a program. Why are the turnover rates like they are? I mean, we're just talking about elementary, middle school. When was the last time you saw a real Kadai, an Orff uh, ensemble at the elementary school? When was the last time you saw a recorder ensemble at the elementary? When did you last time you saw an competent, and like I say, I may be wrong, but a competent middle school in an urban area that was sustainable over the last decade? If you can show me that, hey, bro, I'll be wrong. But those are the things that we need to go back to in order that we get back to that heyday of yesteryear.
All right. Derek, is band going back to what it used to be?
Kuan touched on a lot of good things. I'm gonna touch on the last thing he was talking about is the middle school situation. I actually want to push it past middle school to elementary. I don't know about you all. I started band in 5th grade. Rick had touched it on the broadcast yesterday about even colleges playing on grade level. Man, when I was in elementary school, we were playing the grade 1 and 2 stuff, right? That's what we did. Elementary got the middle school. The beginning band was playing grades 2. The advanced band was playing 3, and we would try for 4 sometimes, right? So by the time we got to high school, the concert band is playing 4s, and the symphonic band that we had was playing 5 and 6. That was when and mind you, I'm 29, right? So high school I got out of high school 10 years ago. I have a baby brother who's a senior at the same school that I graduated from, and they're not playing nowhere on the same level we were at the same school, same great band director. So just me trying to reflect on stuff like that, man. They get rid of these elementary school programs, so then you got to start beginners in middle school, and then half the time they don't try to support the middle school, which feeds back into the high school. Back in the day, or what band used to be, man, you developed a love for band at a very young age. It's kind of hard to do that when you're getting high school students and trying to start them in band. You're not going to get big 300-piece bands like I teach in Portsmouth. That's Hampton Roads. If you look in the 90s and stuff like that, all the bands over there had bands like 200 deep. Like every band just had high school band just was that big. If you look at Hampton Roads now, you won't find a band that has 100 members. There's not a single band in the area for the urban areas. Let me say it like that. And it's just small little things like, I don't believe that we're going to get back to how band used to be. It's just the world is different. These kids have all these different options. It's not like how it used to be. It's the intrinsic motivation to want to be a part of something. All these kids don't have that, I don't see it going back. Now, I'm not saying it can't be great, but it's not going to go back to how it used to be. I just can't see it. We could try our best, but the world's just different. Kids are different. Just like we were different from our predecessors. That's just the way the world works. So that's my output on
it. Okay, Cofield. The band going back to what it used to be.
What Derek said, I'll start there. It will never get back to where it used to be. I don't think I'll ever see Miami Central, Miami Northwestern, these big high school bands down here that used to march 300 and 400 every year, nonstop, effortlessly. I don't think it'll ever get back to that. Do I think it'll get back to that culture being built of band, and not just marching band? I'm talking about symphonic and concert band. Will it ever get back to that level where you walk into a band room and you actually hear music education going forward? Absolutely. Because it is more than a handful of directors down here that, they really changed the narrative, man. Based off of what band used to be in Florida when I was graduating, it was, still hot on the scene. But like now, these young directors down here, man, they got it going, man. And I'm not just talking about, directors that look like us. I'm talking about other directors all across the county where I am. Since y'all ran y'all resume, I started band in the 3rd grade, and I went to a performing arts elementary school. And from that elementary school, literally the middle school is right next door, literally right next door. And we would perform with the middle school you name it, mainly every month almost. Even if it's a performance on our campus, it's a performance on their campus. And then you would trickle up. It was several high schools in the area, so you always had something to look forward to. Now, I don't know what the case is now across the country because, of course, I'm not there. But here in the state of Florida, man, there's a lot of directors that work together, and there is a camaraderie, that's built amongst each other, to where programs are being built from the inside out. And you won't see it a lot because why? Football, cheerleading, track, STEM, all these other programs and events and activities are around band. And like I said before, the only time band is valued is when they're needed. So is band going back to, is it ever going to get back to what it used to be? Absolutely not. I highly doubt that. And that starts with funding. But that's pretty much the long answer.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that band specifically is going to go back to what it used to be. My thing is though, I think about this all the time. Like the experiences that I know I had when I was in school, are just experiences that I will never forget. And because of that, I don't know or believe or feel that a lot of the students now who are engaged, and I know there are a lot of directors who are working hard, so I don't take that away from them. But sometimes I feel like the experience that I had won't be the same as the students who are involved now. I'm not going to say that they're not going to receive the same lessons, but I will say that just kind of going back to my years at Willow Ridge, there was a healthy competition. Quan brought it up a little bit, and even Derek, just kind of knowing the area a little bit, Norcom, Booker T, like those are our rivals. Those are big programs in the city, and just being from Houston and growing up in Houston, like Willow Ridge and Worthen and Madison and Yates and like all of these different programs who were not only had great band directors, but also had great young musicians in it who, like you all stated, started at an early age and built those programs up. It was a experience that I had never had before that I will cherish, for the rest of my life. Whereas I don't know, I don't really see that happening now with these younger kids because of the fact that all of the things that you guys named. And then on top of that, if band is not going to go back to what it used to be, the question now is, how does that affect the university programs? Right? Because if we think about how we came into the universities, I would say musically, as just plain musicians, I think that we were pretty sound. But just having the thought of, like a lot of us have said before, some of us are starting beginners in high school, some of us are starting beginners as seniors, some of us are starting as juniors, and then we're sending these kids off to universities. How is that affecting the university?
So just from my experience, because I'm on staff at Norfolk State too, and obviously I still work in the high school. Um, it's a lot different. Like, from when I came in the band, man, the talent level, the standard talent level was at a whole nother par. That's why we're not able to play some of the same repertoire that maybe that same band has performed in previous years, just like that. Just because the talent level is different. Now, I'm not taking away from some students. Like I have some students that I teach now that are currently in high school that may be top 10 on that instrument I've ever seen in my life, including college. So we still have some talented musicians in the public school system. But as far as a general consensus of the student musicians, man, I just don't think it's definitely a decline. Like I said, there's still a lot of talent out there. I'm just speaking specifically right now from what I observe at Norfolk State, man. You still got kids that can play their tail off, but it's not as many kids that can play their tail off. It used to be like I'm thinking about when I used to watch our trumpet section, Julian, when you were in the band. and I hear all the names. I'm hearing all the names of the people in that trumpet section. It's like, man, they could play. They could play. I'm going down that list now. If I did it now, and I'm not talking about our trumpet section, but I'm saying if I did that, they don't have the same caliber of musicians, man. It's not their fault. It's because the same thing we just spoke about, that upbringing, man. You got name a band. I mean, you could probably think of a few bands that are playing 5 and 6 material in high school right now. And so when you get to high school, we get to college, you can't expect those kids to have that skill level, have that skill set. And it's not their fault. It's just exposure. It's a trickle down effect, man. So yes, it's affecting the colleges a lot. If you ever go step foot in the band room, man, you'll be able to hear it instantly. It's just different now.
Can I interject there? I want to know. I teach out of middle school, so I'm really not too in touch with the high school to college world anymore. But my question would be, how much of that ownership would you put on the students versus the director, knowing the literature, knowing what to play, what not to play, what to practice, what not to practice?
Kuan?
If I just mind interject. So because I've been in middle school, I started a middle school program as well at a charter, 2 charters. I think it's a dichotomy of both, honestly. So one, you do need a competent middle school educator to truly like start them off the proper way, right? Embouchure set, whatever. Rick talks about on the show all the time, goal setting and so forth and so on. Being aware of the literature and the prescribed music lists in your area and region. I think that's one part of it too. But also, we're also dealing with the microwavable generation, honestly. So we cannot operate in the same old school teaching methods as we used to. Like, I need you to sit down. I need you to, position your embouchure like that, because their mindset is like, hey, bro, I got 60 seconds of a TikTok that catching my attention. Then I go to the next one. So how can I, keep their attention, making it fun while, teaching them the proper standards. And I think as an educator and educators, we have to expand our horizon on the methods of teaching. So that's one. So then 2, honestly, some of these middle school band directors that I've seen, they're just lazy, bro. Like I'm not speaking about nobody in particular, but they lazy. Like I go in there and I'm like, all right, so clap this rhythm for me. Oh, he usually clapping for me. So it's like, what I'm saying? It's that type of thing. So it's a dichotomy of both. We need competent middle school educators that honestly, that they understand their assignment and calling is middle school. Not, I'm trying to make this middle school like a high school blowing band. And so that's the mentalities that we in the conversation we need to also have as well. But go ahead, Derek, fam.
Are you talking about who's to blame between the student and the teacher? And like I agree with Kuan, it's a half and half thing. And in some cases, some cases you have the greatest teacher on the world, trying their hardest, doing their best. I'm saying they're doing everything right. But sometimes you just have a group of students that don't want to work with you. You've tried every technique to try to connect with them. Sometimes you have students like that. But you talk about selecting repertoire. I think that depends on the culture of your school at that time, because you can select some appropriate repertoire, but if the students have no interest in it, they don't go home and practice it. So say you pick something that's on level with the band, what level your band can play on, and you pick something and students aren't interested in it. It's something that they can play. They just have to practice a little bit, right? You have your little plan of action for how to approach the rehearsals and everything, but you've been stagnant. You've tried everything in the world. Some of the kids really will just only practice when they're in the band room. So I think it's a half and half battle, man, but it's definitely a lot of variables to go with that.
If you don't mind me interjecting one quick second. So, but my question is, when you're selecting the music, okay, so just say you select 6 songs that you say, okay, these songs are on level for this particular ensemble. Honestly, what I do is I play all 6 of them for the kids. And I say, hey, which one y'all want to play? Well, we like this one because the percussion section, they go live on this one. Well, this one because our brass section is strong and we want to do that. I also think, like I say, we have to change our methods to honestly use a different approach of psychology to get these kids honestly to push them where they need to be. Because if it's a song that they don't want to play, they're not going to play it. But also we have to ask ourselves, is this song culturally relevant to the people that I'm playing it for? How can this song relate to some of the things that they're listening to? Are these songs, do they have the objectives that I want them to attain before the end of the year? All of those things that we have to ask ourselves. And like I say, these methods I learned from other seasoned teachers. Like I know a student from Woolridge, she told me straight up that at the end of the day, they play, down home blues and stuff like that as well. But they had specific standards that they had to learn first before they learned anything else. And I think when you have a group of kids that understand the assignment, so to speak, that they're gonna fix this before they get to the fun part. And it's just about earning your keep in the band program.
All right, bet. Cool, man. All right, let's keep it moving, man. Welcome everybody to secondary sessions. I'm glad I ain't say talk that talk. That was good. All right, as soon as you come in, go ahead and smash that like button, man. The comments is going crazy right now, so I appreciate all the comments. Y'all go ahead and smash that like button. If you're in the comments right now, go ahead and hit the like button. Also, please make sure you subscribe to the Passion Is Network and turn on notifications. All right, you guys brought this up, and I'm gonna go ahead and kind of continue with the idea, and let's expound on this. Are the new wave of students affecting band outcomes? Are the new waves of students affecting band outcomes? Derek, you got it.
I'm just gonna say a hard yes. Definitely, man. I think the students nowadays, like I said, it's not. I don't ever blame it on this. Just the way the world is. But it's a different kind of motivation that they have, man. And there's so many different options. Like we grew up with cell phones. We didn't grow up with, all this like TikTok and all stuff, other distractions that come into your life. I remember when I was in band, it was band. I played sports and everything too, man. But I just had a different focus, a different motivation, and I think that was a general consensus of my generation. Like we were concentrated for a band. But I mean, the kids nowadays, even if some are dedicated to band, man, but it's so many other things going around them. I hate saying TikTok all the time, but TikTok is like the number one culprit, man. It distracts kids from really wanting to get better. They're so busy with being on social media and everything like that, man. So I saw a comment on in here said it's not up to the students, the band director to train professional. I agree with that, but the students are like they play a part in it, man. You can be the best professional in the world if if student is unwilling to do something, they're unwilling to do something. And this generation knows their rights. So they know they have power. If they want something done, this generation is going to fight to get it done. They don't like a teacher, they're going to get them up out of there. They don't want to do something, they're not going to do it. And they know that they don't have to do it. It's not like back in our days, if the band director said, I need you to have a seat, guess what you was going to do? Sit down. Nowadays, why I got to sit? Why I got to sit there? Okay, I'm going to sit over here. It's just the attitude of the generation because they know they have leeway in the classroom setting. So yeah, students definitely changing the outcome, man. It's just a different mindset now.
Cofield, are the new wave of students affecting band outcomes?
Well, I'm gonna ride right off of what Derek said. Absolutely. TikTok is a beast. I found myself making a rule now in my band room that if students want to use TikTok, the only way you can use TikTok is when we're about to perform or, we're about to run like a last run through of a piece from top to bottom. You could make a TikTok off of that or, something like that. I'll allow it, because, I'm not just going to completely take it away from them because that's what they know. when they with me, I'm not about to turn them into robots and program them to say, no, you just absolutely can't do that. No, you give, I give. But the biggest thing is, I mean, we all know that this generation are a bunch of followers, from inside the school to outside the school, to church, to community, to the homes. There are a lot of followers. A lot of them don't have their own minds. Granted, I have plenty of students. Me by myself, I have plenty of students that who are their own person. Particular, I have a trumpet player. He plays soccer. Him and his friend play soccer. His friend came to the band first. His friend is no longer in band, but the kid is. And now he's my first trumpet player. So, he was able to have his own, mind and do his own thing. So is the whole entire new wave affect the band? Yes. Is it all negative? Absolutely not. But a lot of the kids are just followers. And they really have to understand and know that band or music in general is the one subject in school that's guaranteed to get you a scholarship if you can grab onto it the way you're supposed to. But that's a short answer.
Kuan.
I'm gonna go a different route. I wouldn't say the new wave of students. I would say the new wave of parents, in my opinion. The reason why I would say that is because kids gonna be kids, and I work at a predominantly Black school, and I see those kids, real talk, those hood kids that are active. You know what I'm saying? And they're one way in one teacher's class, but they're completely different in another teacher's class, and it has nothing to do with the subject or content they're teaching. It has everything to do with the relatability of their teacher and how that teacher approaches them. So that's number one. So kids are still moldable, and kids, regardless of the environment. Now, of course, the environment, they have to adjust and adapt, so forth and so on. But honestly, in my opinion, for me, it's always the parents. Like, it's the parents that's like, nah, you got to come home and watch your siblings. It's the parents that's like, no, you're not coming to band practice today. And the student will be like, why? Well, you didn't clean your room. So your punishment is, I'm going to take you from something that you like just to teach you a lesson to show you who really rules the house. Mr. Mitchell don't run my house. You know what I'm saying? It's things like that. So it's not the students. It's really sometimes the parents. The parents are so disconnected to where sometimes they don't see the value in what they're doing. I have kids right now. To your point, Derek, you said they only could practice at band practice or during school. Well, for me, that's only because I've heard parents say, man, they're not practicing that in my house. I got to go to work. I'm going to sleep. I don't want to hear that mess. And so literally you stifle or stunt sometimes the growth of the student because of a selfish ambition from the parent. So those are the things that I deal with. So again, for me and my experience thus far, when I've had supportive parents, my band program thrive. I've seen parents excoriate their kids. You need to support him. You need to practice. You're not practicing right. You need to do this. And that student the next day was on it. But then I also had those parents that was like, nah, you're not about to practice. And they only were able to practice in the morning and then in the afternoon.
Yeah, that's a very interesting thought. And that just kind of takes me back to a lot of the situations that I've dealt with in a lot of different areas. Parents, it's really interesting how you can get a set of parents that are like, "Hey, I'm with you 100%." I'm gonna make sure they practice at home. But then I've had them same parents, Quan, that were like, no, the only place that this kid gonna practice is at this school, because he ain't bringing that to my house. I got a newborn and blah 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 and blah blah blah. I'm like, man, look, we can figure out something. I tell the kids sometimes, if they play trumpet, put a sock in your bed. Let's figure it out. Go outside, do whatever it is you need to do. And even sometimes the parents will still give you pushback. So I definitely agree with your sentiment on that. But I also do kind of feel like students are definitely different. I think, and I can do this. I think this thing right here has destroyed a lot of students when it comes, or just education in general, just because of the fact that the access to that is just different. I saw somebody put it in the chat, but I mean, this is just a reality for me too. When I was in high school, that was the age of the beeper. I had a beeper my senior year. So Hey, y'all be quiet, man. But I had a beeper my senior year, man. So the distractions were different. Our distractions were not the same. Our distractions was what Super Nintendo, a Nintendo 64. That was the biggest distraction that we had. We looked forward to actually having band practice, and it was exciting for us to have band practice and just be around one another to have that camaraderie, to play this music, to start to build that program. So I think that I think that I do think that students are different. Kofi, what were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say I had Snake on the on the old Nokia cell phone. That was my distraction.
Yeah, see, and even well, first of all, I was in college when that was. But anyway, but even in that though, it wasn't as major of a distraction as social media has become. And just kind of going off of what you were saying, Cofield. I tell my kids all the time, like, and this is back when I first started teaching. Well, not first started teaching, but when what was it? Not Snapchat, not Instagram. What was the first one before all of that? Where you could only put
Facebook.
up
Black Planet,
no,
MySpace,
no, the one where you could put up the little 20, 30-second clips.
Vine.
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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I used to tell my kids, I'm like, man, if y'all gonna do a vine with you practice it, or with a trumpet in your hand, do something, that shows that you are at least active. Make at least fool me and make me feel good. So I used to do that. I do that now. If y'all gonna TikTok, man, TikTok what y'all practicing. Send a TikTok out and do a challenge and have people, or have people see if they can. What's the joint when you copy it and respond to? I don't know what the name of this stuff is now. I'm old, but I try to tell them all the time. Like I give them those little things to do, because it can be a major distraction. And let's be honest, man, kids' attention span is like 0.2 seconds, if that. And so because of that, look at MJ. Anyway,
what's something
because
wrong with that?
yeah, no, he good. But because of that, though, they want that immediate gratification. They want the immediate success. Um, yes, duets. But they want those things. And the thing about that is, and I think Mario said it on a show one time. He said, when it comes to band, we're the only discipline that does not evolve or has not evolved. There are easier ways for you to come up with math questions. There are other avenues for you to figure or see things that happen in history from different vantage points. There are all these different things, but in order to create a buzz on a mouthpiece, there's only one way it's only one way, or excuse me, to get a good sound on a horn. There's only one way to get it. That's consistent practice. That's not going to change. There is no immediate fast track to getting a great sound on a horn, right? So yeah, I think that you know uh students are different. Students are definitely different. Kofi, any final thoughts, bro?
Nah, man. I'm just. It's good and very healthy to be able to, speak on a platform like this, man, with other, music educators, because I'm sure we all share the same ups and downs, positives and negatives, across the board, man. It's a whole lot more positive. I'm all about positivity. It's a whole lot more positive out there than negative. And if you could just take the time to be patient. B flat scale has to change. If more music educators would just take the time to be more patient with the student and actually nurture that child, and take the time to show them that music can actually change and infect their life in a positive way, we would have better programs. We would have more effective music educators. But the same way Kuan said, you have these microwave students. Well, believe it or not, you have a lot of microwave music educators. They feel like they can get in there, wave that magic wand, and then boom, you have music. Wrong. And at the end of the day, man, I really believe that a lot of music educators, I know some personally who will remain unnamed, need to go back to school. They need to go back and take a couple of education courses and music theory and sight singing courses to get their skills up, because at the end of the day, it's going to affect the child. I can't remember if it was Quan or Derek that said that about it being on the music educator, man. So I just want to let just for my closing statement, just say that it's way more positive influences out here in these band rooms than negative. And I would like for Julian, hopefully one day we can have this conversation with a mass room of just band directors, man, just telling good news, feel good stories, man, because I think we need it in this day and age with these new wave of students.
Absolutely. All right. If you're just tuning in, welcome to Secondary Sessions. There we go. Welcome to Secondary Sessions. if you're just coming in, man, go ahead and smash that like button. If you're in the comment section, man, you guys, like I said, y'all blowing up that comment section. I appreciate you guys. Appreciate the support. Go ahead and click that like button, man. And also, please subscribe to the Passion Is Network and turn on notifications. We are down to our last topic. I'm going to put the link in the chat. So that way, all of you guys who are in the comment section, if you guys want to call in with us, you are available to do so. Once we get to the end of the last topic, just go ahead and click the link in the chat once you see it go up. All right, on to the last topic. Why are our bands smaller? Why are our bands smaller? When I say our bands, I'm talking. I'm gonna say it. I'm specifically talking about our chocolate folk. And I have to put it out there because it's a really interesting thing when I can go from specifically my home in Houston, being born and raised in Houston. When I saw, and I'll go down the list again, the Yates, the Willeridges, the Madisons, the Worthens, Jones, like I all of these programs at the time, Booker T, like all of those programs were at least 100 kids minimum, 80 to 100 kids. Now I know that when I look at those same programs, some of those programs have either fallen by the wayside, like they don't exist no more, or they struggling to keep 30, 40. So that's the question on the floor. Why are our bands smaller? Cofield.
I'll go first and then I'll dip out, man.
Yeah.
I holistically believe that it strictly comes down to what Quan said, and that is the parents. If a parent don't see that a band is going to put money back into the home, or it's not going to benefit that child immediately, or it's not going to keep the kid out of the streets immediately, or keep them, focused or help them to do better in school, then now band is no longer the focal point. In most cases, it goes back to the kids being followers, and a lot of times it hurts because you may have a great band director at a school and they may be a fantastic music educator, but that student won't cling to that because they're following either what their friends are doing, or they're listening to what their parents saying not to do. Or why you're not going to football practice, why you're not at cheerleading practice, why you're not at track practice. To get banned, put that instrument down. It costs too much, it take up too much time, and then they're hit with so much negative things. So bands are smaller because of the community. And if I could just nail that down, that's pretty much what it is. There's a community out here. There's a school out here called Glade Central High School out here in Belle Glade, Florida. This school used to be a powerhouse in the state of Florida. FAMU and Bethune-Cookman bands were built around this high school. Now, complete thing of the past. It's like an elephant graveyard out there, man. And I know that's just one instance. I know all three of y'all have at least two high schools where you're from or where you work right now that's the same way. So bands are smaller now, one, because of the parents, two, because of the students, three, because of the community. And on that note, this is great, gentlemen.
Cofield has to dip. He has to go teach a lesson. So, hey, man, educators, brother. That's part of the life.
That's what we do.
Quan is sitting in his office right now.
Oh man,
yeah.
So, but yeah, so we appreciate you, Cofield. Definitely got to get you back on another one though. So yeah, he has to dip. So appreciate you, bro, and I'll catch up with you.
Yeah, man. Hey, real quick, shout out to the bros. Peace out.
All right. So Kuan, why are our bands smaller?
All right, so I'm trying to do it quick, but it's a plethora of things. So first of all, zoning. That's an issue that we have, zoning. So we know that uh, zoning throughout America has been a systemic issue regardless. Like, we don't have to go into details, but in regards to real estate and those different things like that, we know zoning. Something that me and another administrator talked about, magnet schools. So a lot of the times, honestly, we label specific things and we think just because that school is a quote unquote magnet school, a lot of the times is what you do is you label this school magnet school, and you say, okay, that this school is better than the quote unquote um, historical local zone school for this area in this urban area, right? And so the mindset of an option is like, well, I'm gonna go to the school that's quote unquote better because we know about this particular school. So you're taking the good students from one school, from school A, and putting them in school B, and you thinking, well, school B is going to be better, when sometimes that's not true. So the magnet school options. So that's that. I'm gonna mention something that was that I seen uh, in the Houston area as well as in Louisiana when I resided there. 21st century. A lot of the times, 21st century program, honestly, for particularly black, predominantly black schools, they had what's called uh, after school drumline programs. So they didn't have, it was cheaper to buy drums one time than to supply a adequate band director and give him a salary. So you had an after school program. So that 21st century coordinator would literally just have a drum line. You have a drum instructor that you pay hourly, and the principal was like, cool, the kid's doing something. And then when I need them to shuck and jive, they will put them in the forefront. So there was no band, but it was a drum line. And that happened for about 6 or 7 years at these local feeder programs. So that's that. I spoke about the after school drumline program. We also spoke about the feeder programs, right? Lack of feeder programs. But one thing that we never touched on as of yet was the turnover rate. How many times you had a middle school teacher, right? And that middle school teacher was there for about 1 or 2 years, possibly wasn't highly qualified or certified, and then he dipped, and then it was a revolving door for several years. This is has taken place since I began teaching with my first teaching job in 2012, and it's 2021. And some of these things has still been perpetuated time after time, specifically in these urban areas. Uh, Julian, you mentioned Jones. They closed Jones down. Some of the middle schools that fed into Jones, guess what? They're closed down. Madison, I believe a brother, Evan Fontenot, he's there at Madison. He's been there 3 or 4 years. But prior to, we don't, that was kind of like a revolving door for that. At the particular school that I'm at, they had 7 band directors in 4 years when I was here, to where the fine arts director was actually a sit-in permanent sub while I was here. So when you think about those particular things, you have to rebuild these programs. And sometimes people just don't want to rebuild because it's so hard. How can you rebuild a program when there's no feeder pattern? You don't have administrative support. You don't have a budget. They tell you in some of these interviews, well, you have the autonomy to raise the funds as you see fit. Like, all of these things are why, particularly urban, predominantly black schools that have a historical a representation of great bands fell off. When also take it a step further, when you go to the affluent neighborhoods, some of them have 3 to 4 middle schools that feed into them with adequate programs. And then you have the urban schools, they might have 2. And the band director there might not be doing his job. So when you think about all that, how can you win? But bless God, there are some schools that pop up and band directors that work hard and dedicate their life for their calling and build these programs up. So that's a lot to go up against, as a band director.
Yeah. So, I mean, just my perspective on it, man. I think it's really an administrative thing, man. When you start going to the urban communities, these schools are really concentrating on staying, what's the word? Not accredited, right? And we get accreditation through these test scores and all that. So I'm gonna take it all the way back to when I said the elementary school programs, the middle school programs. That's when you start building up the feeder programs to feed into that high school, they don't exist anymore. I know around here we don't have any elementary school instrumental music programs. So the earliest you can start band is the 7th grade. And by the time a student gets to 7th grade, sometimes band is not cool to them, especially when they're not good at it as soon as they pick an instrument up, which is why we have an abundance of, I'm going to say drummers. I'm not even going to say everybody wants to do percussion because they can get an instant sound off of that instrument, man. These kids, I saw some people in the comments talk about the microwave stuff. Very, very true. I think that's a big issue with us. For me, though, the fact that the administration took these elementary school programs out, though, I think that's the biggest reason why we won't even, I don't even think we're going to get back to having big programs until they do that. You can't really, the feeders are the most important thing because we don't recruit, right? High school programs don't recruit necessarily like a college would. We're not going to go out to the community and we don't recruit to a certain extent, right? So we're dependent on these feeders. It's another thing too. If we think about high school band directors, I think they need to get back into the middle school thing too. I don't think that happens enough. Like dealing with the high school teachers dealing with the feeder programs, But like Kuan was saying, man, I think it's the feeders. I think that's the biggest issue. A lot of people don't want to teach middle school or elementary school too. A lot of people that are qualified, they can do well teaching it. And we're just losing a lot of students because you see a small band, man. Do you want to join a small program? It's kind of easier for you to try to jump into something when you see a big thriving program as opposed to jumping into something that somebody's rebuilding, And what Kuan was just hitting everything on the nail, man. And consistency of band directors. I think that's another thing too. You can't build a program when you say you had 7 band directors in 4 years. It's crazy. But schools are going through that. It's not even like an uncommon thing. The schools that have a decent size have had that band director for several years now. I can assure you. I don't know of a program that's had a band director for 2 or 3 years, and they have a pretty nice size. So I think a lot of teachers are leaving their schools. Like I said, it's a rotating door, and I know that has a lot to play into it as well. So feeders, consistency of teachers, consistency of teaching. I touched on it yesterday about your podcast, man. I always watch you all to try to improve myself, and I noticed some things that you all said would talk about that was not the best behavior or a pedagogy of teaching and everything. I think consistency of teaching is another thing, man. I've tried to improve my consistency personally, but I know there's other directors out here that are inconsistent with their teaching. That turns away students. Students like structure. They like order. They like coming, knowing what they're going to do when they come in. A lot of teachers aren't doing that, so you're chasing students away like that too. So, you could talk about a million different reasons why the bands are smaller now in urban communities, man. It's just a litany of different reasons. I could talk about it all day.
First of all, I want to make sure I let you guys know. I put the link in the chat for those of you guys who want to call in and get in on some of the things that we've been talking about, some of the topics. Like I said, I'm just looking at the chat. It's going nuts right now. And brother Chisholm, I would love for you to call in. I haven't talked to you in a while. So yeah, I would definitely love for you to call in. But
Doctor,
yeah, I know. 06. But one of the things that I did want to kind of bring up, and Kuan, you kind of touched on it slightly, is I really think that we also need to start looking at the education programs. Because there is this ice cream dream that we have, because when we leave our, quote unquote high school program or whatever, and then we get into the university sector, we start thinking, all right, I'm gonna get this big old band. I'm gonna get this 5A school with about 100 kids, maybe 150, and we're gonna be blowing, and that's the thought process. But then the reality sets in once you walk across that stage, graduate, the fanfare is over. Now you got to get that job. And the reality of it is that you get that job, you're going to walk into a situation where you probably got like maybe 20 kids, and out of the 20 kids, only 5 of them actually care, 15 really don't. And then you got to try to build a program. And so we end up losing a lot of great directors because they're burnt out, because they weren't taught how to deal with these specific situations. They weren't prepared or told, hey, look, I know what you want to do, but here's the reality of what you're going to receive. And so I think that we have to also look at the education programs, and I do put a little bit of it on the education programs and the directors, because sometimes a bad band director is, as Rick likes to eloquently say, there are no bad bands, there are only bad band directors. I think a lot of that has to do with the tutelage that they received prior to becoming band directors. So I just believe that we have to also look at that facet in that element and say that's half of the reason too. A lot of these people aren't willing to work with these students or even know how to work with these students. So I think that is also an issue that actually has come up as well, and the reason why our bands are becoming smaller. But I also do agree with the parent situation as well, because that's definitely an issue. And I know that it was stated in the chat. I forgot who put it in, and I know we've talked about it on the platform before. Um, all of our black kids are not going to be, NFL, NBA. It's not going to happen. Um, and I see it almost every day. I've lost so many students to the basketball team who couldn't play a lick, who couldn't put the ball in the hoop, who couldn't do nothing, and I've seen that happen. But I've also said that there is no wide world of band. There is no, without a shadow of a doubt, Wednesday night is going to be the National Association of Band. It's not there. And so parents don't see that, and so they don't see band or music in general just as being lucrative, unless you are a rapper or a singer, So those are my thoughts. Any thoughts on that, fellas?
Yeah, for me, I think we also have to educate the parents too. To inform them of the opportunities that not just band, but being a musician can bring. It's a life lesson that honestly, at the end of the day, if you don't get a job, or you can go play for a club, a gig or whatnot, there's still something that can be done overall, not just from an education. Because many of my parents honestly thought, well, if they're in a band and then they go to band for college, they have to be a music major. Nah, those are the little things that honestly they just didn't know. But when you start looking at these specific numbers on what these universities are willing to give these students to attend school for 4 years, once they start seeing these numbers, I mean, I think it can be changed, but we're going to have to change our method of teaching from not just the child, but the parent as well. Because some of them are unfortunately just uninformed.
I agree. Can I add something?
No, you good. Go ahead.
I forgot to touch on one thing, man. I'm seeing some people mention this in the comments. Is registration of students. I mean, like their schedules and everything like that. Me, I can only speak about my personal experience. I've had students, some of my best players aren't able to get in band class their junior and senior year because of registration, and sometimes they'll just stop doing band because they're not in class anymore, or they weren't involved in marching band, they weren't interested in it, which is fine. But when you start having registration, I've had students that are freshmen in high school. I used to teach in middle school, so they made us teach middle school and high school. I've had students that I taught at the middle school that would come to high school, and I wouldn't see them in band anymore, and I'll see them in the hallway when I'm just walking through the school. So, hey man, I thought you went to another school. It was like, no, they just didn't put me in band this year, and they would never be back in band. So I think registration or class, however the class blocking is, I think that plays a big part with retention of our students coming from the middle school level to the high school level. So I think that's also a big thing that's changing in high school.
All right, bet. All right, let's go ahead and take some calls in here. There we go. The great
What's
doc.
going on, brothers? How y'all doing?
How's it going, brother?
Oh
All
man.
right. Hey, thanks for having me, man. Look, Derek, you just said a mouthful, brother, because I was just gonna get in here and talk about that. I promise you I was. Cause at the school district that I work for, like we went back. Let's go back to the early part when we talked about certain programs. Like you said, Kuan, you said you were in Houston, or Luke, one of you guys were in Houston or whatnot. And at one point in time, you had this program that was there. I just put in the comments, when I was growing up, and I was just talking to my girl about this. There was a point in time in the city of Memphis where every single program had some type of feeder to it, right? I mean, it was connected, right? When I was growing up, you had your Fairleigh high schools, you had your Westwood high schools, you had Hamilton, you had Mitchell, you had Melrose, all these schools were like prominent schools. And the only somebody at this point now who's still standing from the old school legends is Whitehaven, because Whitehaven actually have a lot of stuff going on outside of band. Like they stand to lose a lot, whether it's band, whether it's athletics, whether it's academics. Like Whitehaven is like an optional school now, right? So that's one of the things that they carry with. Now, Derek, when you mentioned about the whole scheduling piece, and I think Charles Connor had said it inside of the chat as well. Another thing that happened is the invasion of all of these freaking charter school systems, and like you said, one of you guys said earlier about the magnet schools. All this stuff done came in and infiltrated the school districts, and it's so much as a title, right? Because the school district that I work for here in the city of Memphis is not in Chev. It's a whole different entity. It's not Green Dot, which is another charter school system. Is one of a community school system, right? And we house one high school and two middle schools. I serve as the band director at the high school. Now, there are two middle schools that are right up under me, but let me explain to you guys how the scheduling works for that. At one of the middle schools, they have a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. It's middle school. The band students only sign up for band in the 7th grade. So in the 6th grade, they have art, something like visual art or something. In the 7th grade, they get to take band. In the 8th grade, they put them in something like another PE class or something, right? Something that's totally irrelevant to the whole band curriculum. So all those 7th graders that you had that were in the band class, they're not going to be interested in band by the time they reach the 9th grade. So the high school suffers from that school. Now, let's talk about the other school. Same thing, 6, 7, and 8, right? But here's the difference. In the 6th grade band class, it's probably 12 students. In the 7th grade band class, it is probably maybe 9. In the 8th grade, it's probably 8 or 9. But that's three grade levels of band, right? What's the problem? Now let's talk about this teacher's other schedule. They got 3 more classes, which is a class that is known as general music, which houses 80 to 90 students. So once again, now when it's time to come see me at the high school, what am I looking at? Well, I'm looking at a program on my roster with 19 students. We talking we talking maybe 7 9th graders, 4 10th graders, maybe 2 11th graders, and a senior. Now, how could that's set up for failure, right? And I'm not the only somebody who have a schedule like that. You know what I'm saying? Because once you see my band schedule, then let's talk about my general music class. Same thing. It's probably about 80 or 90 kids in my general music courses. And then when I try to press the issue to say, okay, well, you hired me to be the band director, I'm going to force these general music students to play instruments. Well, that's not what they signed up for. There a lot of students, you know what I'm saying?
I done heard that before.
Facts.
A lot of students need their fine arts credit, but they don't want to be in the band. Okay, a lot of students don't want to take English, but you make them do it. So, and that's what I was telling, when I was talking to Crystal back and forward. If us music educators was to form in the lines and get together, because ESA, you know, every child should succeed at.
Yep.
It's for us, right? Every student succeed at. That's what it stood for. Because there were several other things that led up to that. You know, the Yale Seminar of 1963, the Tanglewood Symposium of 1967. Then you had the Vision 2020, which is the House Right Symposium, which came into the play in 1999, which made ESA, because Obama did that, because the House Right one, no, the Tanglewood was what President Bush had put in that BS No Child Left Behind crap, right?
Absolutely.
So when you start going into ESA, then that's when President Obama pushed it to what we have now. So if we could actually form an alliance and get together, we can get what we need to get out of these people, you know. It's just, that's just.
Here's the thing. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But you said something in the chat that I wanted to bring light to. A lot of people don't even know, and you said ESA, I call it ESA. A lot of people don't even know what ESA is. Like, they don't even know that it exists. Like, it's on the table, like it's available for us. Like, there's documentation in there that states all the things and all the rights that we actually do have, and what's supposed to be happening in our school systems. A lot of administrators, and I saw you say this in the chat too, and I agree 100%. A lot of administrators are getting away with a lot of things they shouldn't be getting away with, because we are not informed, because we don't have the documentation, or we're not aware of it. So I agree 100%. Like, when I started actually looking into this information and when I started studying that stuff, I was like, oh my gosh, this is available to us. Like, how is this possible? Like, there are funds that are supposed to be allocated for us through ESSA, because of the fact that we are a fine arts program. And the thing that ends up happening is we don't ever get those funds or see those funds, because we don't even know that they're available. We don't. And we don't know how to even fight for those funds the right way. So you're absolutely right. I 100% agree with you.
Exactly, and Crystal said she was right. They would mess around and they would fire you and hire somebody who would do the job. And that's what's been coming in our profession. Our profession is, we're not taken seriously. You know what I'm saying? Because I think Dow Taylor said it to me one year when I was at Jackson State. He said, what administrators do is take individuals like the four of us and everybody else that's in the chat. They would take something that we love to do and they will pimp us off something that we love to do. And we, because we love to do it so much, we're not chasing our worth. That's what we're not doing, because we love to do what we do. Man, if they're one of the most powerful thing ever, man, because he told the truth. You know what I'm saying? Let's be real here. Let's compare. You got these HBCUs. Chances are you go to an HBCU, you're going to be either the director of bands or an assistant director. You're going to have a full load of applied students. You're going to be teaching courses, whether it's one of the theory courses or one of the sight singing, ear training, or oral skills, or some small chamber ensemble. You're going to have all this stuff on your plate in the midst of still being the band director. But if you was to take your tail, like in your case, you in Houston. So if you go to the University of Houston, that director of bands is exactly what he is. He's a director of bands. He ain't teaching nothing else. If that person is a theory teacher, that's exactly what that professor is. He's going to teach theory, right? If that person owns the saxophone studio, no clarinets, no double reeds, no flutes, he's going to be the saxophone. And if they got enough money, he's going to be specifically alto saxes. This one's going to be specifically tenor saxes, right? I mean, it's what it is. And then and another thing in our field, because I did research on it, like Ohio State, everybody talk about how much tail they kick on the field, but their director of bands, all he do is just facilitate. All his assistants do everything else. They have an animator who actually draws them shows online for them. So they have all these different facets. But if you come to us, we are the director of bands. We are the Professor of Theory. We are the woodwind, not saxophone, the woodwind studio or the brass studio. We are a bail bondsman. We are Cashnet USA. We are Dillard's. We're Kroger's. We're Food Line. We big brother, big sister, auntie, cousin. We are counselor. We are the doctor. We're their nurse practitioners. We're everything for a measly $42,000 a year.
Man, you said the thing that I think we said it on the show the other day when I said, do we need to think about how we look at our HBCU music education programs and restructuring how we do it? Because that's absolutely right. When you have at a predominantly white institution, a director of bands, like you said, a director of bands, but then you have the athletic band director, which is the marching band director, and then the athletic band director has assistants. You know what I'm saying? So, but then when you get to the HBCUs, yes, you're absolutely right. The HBCU director of bands is the director of the university bands, is the director of marching bands. He can be over the small ensemble, he can be over the jazz band, and everything other than the sun. So you're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. 100%. I only got my soundboard hooked up. I ain't even put my church.
Pass the plate, bro.
I don't have my soundboard up. I should have put my soundboard up. But yeah, man. Any other thoughts you got? Oh, and Kari, I saw you come in here, bro. If you want to come back, I was waiting for you to. I was waiting.
Man,
every time I click in, you clicked off. But go ahead.
I'm done, man. I appreciate you guys having me through, man. I was just sitting back looking at, man, all of the stuff that you were saying, and I was like, man, you guys are saying some powerful stuff, man. And I want Charles Connor to come on here, man, because Charles got a lot of insight too that he can share. And Crystal, I'm looking at the people that's in the chat. These people got stories to tell too. You know what I'm saying? And everybody, like you said, somebody who said, I think it was Kuan that said it. Everybody's stories are related. Everybody, it don't matter where we are in America, but we need to learn as band members, we need to learn how to actually stick together, and we can get what we need to get. Because I bet you any kind of money that high school basketball coach or them football coaches, I hear them all the time at my school. They got their own little, I guess, for lack of better terms, they got their own little union and things that they do to get to what they want to get. But we as band directors, we need to get out. I get it when we in the heap of battle that, that's what it is at that moment, man. But we still can be friends and we still can help each other out. Each one teach one, man. You know what I'm saying? One of y'all may know something that I don't. Just because I got a DR in front of my name don't mean I know everything. You know what I'm saying? That just means I know how to write a long paper. You know what I'm saying? So, we can help each other out, man. That's what we do. That's what we need to do. But it's a lot of KK sides, there's a lot of Phi Mu alphas, there's a lot of Sigma Alpha Iotas, a lot of Tau Beta Sigma, there's a lot of HBCU band members. Let's help each other out, man.
And see that, and I'm glad you brought that up, and I will continue to confess this, and my wife knows this, but that's the reason why I decided to move forward and this platform and this show, the secondary sessions, as well as the Talk That Talk, because I think that's what needs to be happening. I want these conversations to continue. I want all of us as music educators to come together and have these conversations and see what's similar, and then what can we do to move forward together as a unit versus all of us trying to figure it out on our own. That just doesn't make any sense to me. If we are all on the same page, moving the same way, and have the same amount of information, then we can make a bigger impact. But I think that because of the fact that we keep on trying to do this in our own little bubbles, in our own little way, we actually hurt ourselves more than help. I continue to think about the fact that my band director, God rest his soul, Ronald Thornton, is well known. Like, people know who Ronald Bernard Thornton is. And for me, he was just my band director. But as an adult now, as a music educator, you got people who are major members of the DCI community who are like, man, Ronald Thornton? Oh, I know who that dude is, man. He was great. but that's because people had conversations with one another. It wasn't like, I see you across the field, I hate you, and I really dislike you. Like, I'm not even going to have a conversation with you. It's like, all right, we across the field, we're having this musical battle. But when we done, all right, let's talk about ways that we can better ourselves. Let's talk about, all right, your program was this. What could you have done to make it better? Make it better. You know, your intonation here was a little bad. You know, like, these conversations need to be had. And we need to be open enough to have them and stop being so insecure about ourselves and say, hey man, there's nothing wrong with me admitting that I don't know everything. I don't know everything, you know? So I think you're absolutely right. So this is why I created this platform, and I'm going to continue to move forward in that, with hopes that, you know, we create these communications.
Well, one last thing, and I'm gonna let you guys go and continue. And I agree with you. My band director was the same way. God rest his soul, Dr. Jeff Huddleston here in Memphis. He was very known in the jazz community. He did things with us, like he introduced us to, you know, in case you guys didn't know, it was like all West Tennessee and well, that's regional stuff. You know what I'm saying? Where we actually competed with, you know, the other races, so to speak. And here we are at Fairleigh High School, this little bitty hood school, going against all these Overtons and White Stations and West Tennessee schools that these students actually can afford private lessons. But, you know, we come from neighborhoods where we don't know where we getting our next meal, but we making all state. We making the top seeds in the top. We making the top chairs in the top groups and things like that. You know, they hated that, right? So, and that's pretty much what we need to get back into, man, because, you know, these regional things, you know, you got these people that's today that, you know, when it comes to, like, should I say concert band or concert festival or solo and ensemble, or either just marching festivals, period. Oh, I can't do it, or my principal won't. But when it's come to that battle of the bands or that jamboree or that showdown or whatnot, your band is the first one there. You know what I'm saying? And that's a whole nother topic. I ain't trying to go off on your show, man. But, you know, there's some things as young band directors, you know, we or these middle-aged band directors. I like to consider myself as a middle age. I haven't reached the old school level yet, but, you know, we can counsel these young guys, man. Let's take our experience and our knowledge and pass it down. Now, whether they use it or not, you know, that's on them, right? That's on them. But, you know, we can try our best to try to, you know, reach down through, because I can say this: one year I was at the Midwest Clinic. This was in 2018. This was recently. And one thing a lot of these younger college band directors hate to hear is when these older guys like O'Neal Sanford and Paul Adams and your Ed Graves, you know, these guys who we deem and know as legends, when they get to talking about, you know, this stuff, pretty much what I'm saying right now, a lot of the younger band directors like to sit back and walk out the room. Well, I ain't trying to tell me how to run my program and all that type of stuff. And no, they're giving you nuggets on how to make it, bruh. You know what I'm saying? So let's do what we need to do. Let's do what we need to do, y'all. And I'm gonna stop because I can go on, man. Like I said, I appreciate you guys having me on the show, and man, I'm gonna continue to support you anytime you can let me on, man. I'll be here, bruh.
Yeah, most definitely, man. I'm gonna have to hit you up, bro. Don't worry, I'll get your contact, man, and we'll link up.
All right. If you ain't know, I'm Doc D Chisholm on Facebook, or Dr._I-Riding06 on Instagram, or you can just hit me up on here, and I'll shoot you my number or something, man.
I got you, bro. No problem.
All right, bro. See you later, Kuan. All right, Derek.
All right, man. Yeah, he definitely hit it on the head. You know, one of the things that basically what he really kind of touched on is one of the things that you talk about a lot, Quan, the willing vessel, brother. You know, the willing vessel doesn't necessarily go all the way just to our students. The willing vessel also goes to these young music educators, man. They got to be they have to be open and willing to take the information that we want to be able to give them. Just because the information is not about cranking up, that doesn't mean the information is not valid. And I think that because of the generation that we're coming up in now, where the perspective is, you know, wake up, crank up. Like, that's what the perspective is. then that's all that matters. But a lot of people don't see everything that goes behind the scenes, and these younger directors need to be open to take that other part of the information. So I definitely agree with all that. That was our last guest. So I want to get ready to go ahead and close out, man. I appreciate I definitely appreciate you guys coming in and checking in with us, going through the panel. Derek, appreciate you coming through, brother. Any final thoughts? Anything you got for me, bro?
I'll be real quick. I just want to touch on the last thing you said, man. If anybody else is listening, because I'm one of the young band directors, you know, that you're referring to. I'm still within almost my 4th year now. So man, I just wanted to speak. We gotta get the pride out of the whole situation, man. I think one of the best things I ever did was listen. You know, I constantly understand that I'm not perfect. You know, when you get out, especially if you know a pretty good musician, you think you're just gonna be the best band director in the world, and that's not the case. You're gonna make mistakes and everything when you get up out of here. So just listen, man. Get you a mentor. Get mentors. Take the knowledge that you want. You know what you don't want, I would still consider it, but just take pride out of the equation. So.
Word. Kuan, any final thoughts, bro?
Be so slow to speak, quick to listen as a band director, man. And I think everything will fall into place. But we as band directors, we truly need to understand our calling. Like, this is not just a job, this is a calling. And we need to value ourselves as that, and as such, that the precepts that we're teaching and seeds that we're dropping in these kids' lives, they're going to produce fruit. So you want it to produce proper fruit at the end of the day. So keep striving, keep doing what's right, even when nobody else is watching, even when nobody else is, saying you're a GOAT on YouTube, even when nobody else is saying that you're the man on Facebook. It's going to pay off. Just keep doing the work, and then everything else will pay off.
Word. Definitely want to say once again, appreciate everybody who came through. Appreciate everybody in the chat. You still got time to go ahead and click that like button. Even if we sign off, you can still click that like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the network. Man, like I said, I'm always say we got great things coming up, so please subscribe to the network. All right. And I think this was pretty dope, so I want to continue doing this. I think Thursday works, man. Kuan, is Thursdays good for you, brother?
Not during the week, not during band practice though, but we'll chop it up about
it. I forgot that school about to come back in. So yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll chop it up. We'll come up with it. But yeah, appreciate everybody tuning in for secondary sessions, man. We will see you guys next time.
Have a good day, y'all.